From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the afternoon news for November 20th, 2025. These are the stories we are covering at this hour. U.S. employers added a surprisingly solid 119,000 jobs in September, the government said, issuing a key economic report that had been delayed for 7 weeks by the federal government shutdown. The unemployment rate rose to 4.4% from 4.3% in August, the Labor Department said Thursday. The increase in payrolls was more than double the 50,000 economists had forecast, but Labor Department revisions show that the economy lost 4,000 jobs in August instead of gaining 22,000 as originally reported. During the 43-day U.S. government shutdown, investors, businesses, policymakers, and the Federal Reserve were groping in the dark for clues about the health of the American job market. The federal workers who collect data on hiring and unemployment had been furloughed and couldn't do their jobs. Thus, the Labor Department will not be releasing a full report for October. Many Fed officials were already leaning against reducing their key rate for the third time this year at their next meeting next month. The case for reducing borrowing costs has largely been based on the fear that the job market could be rapidly deteriorating. Yet in September, employers added 119,000 jobs, a modest increase but a clear improvement after a summer slowdown that saw employers shed jobs in June and August. The unemployment rate ticked higher to 4.4%, but that largely occurred for what economists call a good reason. More Americans came off the sidelines to look for work, and not all immediately found jobs. That's considered a more reassuring reason for the increase than a sharp rise in layoffs. Turning to other news, the support for former Vice President and Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney was on full display at Washington National Cathedral on Thursday, which hosted a bipartisan show of respect and remembrance for Dick Cheney, the consequential and polarizing vice president, that is, who in later years became an acidic scold of fellow Republican President Donald Trump. Trump, who's been publicly silent about Cheney's death on November 3rd, was not invited to the 11 a.m. memorial service. Two ex-presidents are coming. Republican George W. Bush, who is to eulogize the man who served him as vice president, and Democrat Joe Biden, who once called Cheney the most dangerous vice president we've had probably in American history, but now honors his commitment to his family and to his values. Daughter Liz Cheney, a former high-ranking House member whose Republican political career was shredded by Trump's MAGA movement, will join Bush in addressing the gathering at the grand church known as a spiritual home for the nation. And in perhaps more poignant news, today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, and LGBTQ Nation shared a list of 365 plus trans and gender diverse lives lost in 2025. Transgender Day of Remembrance is observed annually on November 20th to honor transgender, non-binary, and gender diverse people who've been killed as a result of anti-transgender hatred and violence. The Trans Day of Remembrance serves as a memorial for those lost, a call to raise awareness about the ongoing violence, discrimination, and stigma that trans and non-binary people face worldwide, and a way to advocate for transgender rights, safety, and justice, so that all people may live safely and authentically, free from fear and prejudice. The Trans Day of Remembrance this year commemorates, as said, the estimated 365 plus trans, non-binary, and gender diverse people who lost their lives due to suicide and violence. It's also especially essential to mark this year's Trans Day of Remembrance since transgender, non-binary, and gender diverse people have come under unprecedented political attacks from the president and his political party, with orders denying any legal recognition of non-cisgender people, policies pushing them out of all public life, and disinformation meant to foster violence against them. That's the news for this hour. We'll have a link in our website to the article for Transgender Day of Remembrance, which I just started to read. For folks in Northwest Pennsylvania, please check out the Erie Gay News for details about Transgender Day of Remembrance vigils happening near where you live. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, and Alexa. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.